The world is becoming divided like never before. Arguments are erupting at the dinner table. Lifelong friendships are being tested. People are having to promise loved ones that they won't talk about it. It's as if we're all living in a script for some huge blockbuster disaster movie where a small number of ordinary people suddenly find themselves caught up in something quite extraordinary. They have found out that the world is coming under attack by something extremely sinister, something which can't actually be seen and which appears to have no physical form. Their lives are turned upside down as they try and warn their family, friends and workmates that everything is not what it seems, and that some sort of plan is being rolled out by a secretive group of extremely powerful and wealthy psychopaths, which will result in death, mayhem and change on a truly massive scale. But these warnings are almost certainly met with instant dismissal and name-calling. We are, of course, talking here about the COVID-19 pandemic, but equally, we could also be talking about the increasing propaganda push on so-called climate change. Whether it be in the guise of their Build Back Better Great Reset.
To build back better.
To build back better.
Build back better.
To build back better.
To build back better.
Build it back better.
Must build back better.
Build back better.
To build back better.
Their fourth industrial revolution or their Green New Deal. These secretive powers have deceived many good and trusting people into supporting them. However, there is one major flaw in their technocracy plan for world domination. They know this, and a few of us know it too. At the moment, these multi-billionaire plotters have effectively wrapped themselves in a cloak of invisibility. Remove it, and their dominance over us is removed. So, what is this shroud of protection made of? Simple. It is our collective ignorance about global money creation and money supply. To a lot of people, economics is just boring, complex and unfathomable. Perhaps deliberately so. For most of us, we simply switch off. But stay with me, every blockbuster movie has its villain, and we're about to meet ours in the guise of the Bank for International Settlements, or the BIS as it's sometimes referred to. Barely 1% of the population, if that, have ever heard of it, and less can actually tell you what it does. Well, here's the answer. It is a private, unelected and unaccountable organisation that was co-created in 1930 by Hitler's then future economics minister Jean Schacht and is currently overseeing well over 95% of the world's money. Based in Basel, Switzerland, it directly controls 63 private central banks, including the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, the People's Bank of China, the Central Bank of the Russian Federation, and the European Central Bank. It also directly influences a host of other smaller private central banks which cover almost every country in the world, including extremely unstable and deliberately failed states like Afghanistan and Libya. All of their top-level meetings are held in absolute secrecy, with no minutes made available for public scrutiny. Their influence, or more accurately, their instructions, are far-reaching. Whether you are Biden, Putin, Macron, Johnson, or Xi Jinping, decisions made by the BIS are to be acted upon. And to strengthen its cloak of invisibility, it has given itself diplomatic immunity so that no one can properly question or investigate their criminality. And their criminality is blatant. Unlike us law-abiding citizens who have to earn our money, bankers can and do create money completely out of thin air as debt. It is not based on anything tangible like gold or other assets. It's simply a ledger exercise. They give it the fancy title of fractional reserve banking so that us lowly lot won't ask too many questions. But it also goes by another name, which we can all understand: fraud. They get away with it simply because our ignorant and or corrupted politicians turn the other way rather than confronting this criminality head on. The bankers completely control our elected servants. And here's the proof. Did you know that any sovereign nation can, through its treasury, and not a private central bank, create, issue and control its own debt-free and interest-free money that is based entirely on that nation's wealth and creativity. In August 1914, the British government, through HM Treasury, issued the so-called Bradbury Pound that saved the entire nation from financial collapse at the outbreak of the First World War.
This country is at war with Germany.
But it was dropped once the fat bankers had been saved. This fiscal process that delivers stability and prosperity is known as sovereign money or sovereign national credit. And if it was done again today, people wouldn't have to endure any form of direct taxation, nor would they ever again experience austerity and cutbacks to essential services and infrastructure. This simple, common-sense form of money creation has been deliberately hushed up by our politicians, or, more accurately, by their ultimate controllers at the Bank for International Settlements. We have allowed this monster to exist in our midst, while it deliberately creates the unhappiness and divisions that we are seeing in our families, workplaces and communities. We should not be fighting amongst ourselves, but instead should be raising our game to understand who the real enemy is and how it is that they are in the position to completely control us. The bottom line is this: those who control the world's money control the world's stage. They are the ones who decide how much, or more accurately, how little the world has to spend. They are the reason we have a so-called third world, why every night hundreds of millions of families go to bed hungry, scared and destitute, why according to Oxfam 2,153 billionaires have more wealth than 4.6 billion people that make up 60% of the planet's population. And it's also why a sizable number of us are suffering from crippling and unsustainable personal debt. These global criminals have well and truly rigged the system with their lies and deception. The world is suffering for it while they make a killing, in both senses of the word, as nearly all wars have the bankers' fingerprints all over them. Henry Ford once said, "It is well enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." Has the penny finally dropped? We're all in the same boat, together. These banksters, often referred to by researchers as the deep state, are attempting to divide us so that one day, very soon, they can unite us under their Build Back Better demonic vision of the future. A great reset technocracy where advanced and invasive surveillance technologies come together along with a global digital currency that ensures a completely cashless world. Central bank digital currencies are currently being rolled out by the BIS, meaning that through the use of AI, every single transaction in the world can be monitored centrally. It also means that access to your so-called money can be interfered with at any time by the state if you don't follow their rules and regulations. This is currently happening in communist China with the rolling out of their new social credit system, the deep state's high-tech blueprint for the rest of the world. And sadly, the majority of people are accepting what's to come by falling for their two almighty scams that are taking place today, namely COVID-19 and so-called climate change, both of which have been created and are being promoted by rogue scientists and doctors who are provably in the pockets of the deep state, including the likes of Bill Gates, Elon Musk and George Soros. Any highly qualified academic that disagrees with either or both of these two fake narratives is immediately banned from the mainstream media, especially the BBC. However, those of us who have sensed an invisible hand strategically moving pieces on the global chessboard over the past few decades now know that that hand belongs to the dynastic banking families that oversee the Bank for International Settlements and its private central banking system, and that they quite literally bank on our ignorance to further their plan for complete world domination. So now that we've identified their Achilles heel, 2022 and 2023 must be the years of increasing unity and truth, where we annul the deep state's ability to control us by standing together to fully restore our ancient freedoms and sovereignty. including our absolute right to create and control our own debt-free and interest-free money. In doing so, we will collapse this global criminality and bring the ringleaders of this deep state to full and lasting justice under the common law. It's how every blockbuster always ends. Good triumphs over evil, but only once that evil has been fully exposed. Brought to you by the Hardwick Alliance for Real Ecology, campaigning to stop the fake Green New Deal and the fascist Build Back Better Great Reset.